Hey everyone, Nick Engvall here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about some of the people that make the sneaker history community and this podcast possible. It's more important than ever to think about who you give your money to when you're buying clothing to go with your kicks. Our friends at Guilty Goods started their brand with a goal of giving back, especially to the communities that make sneaker culture possible. With every purchase from Guilty Goods, at least 10% of the proceeds are donated to organizations like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Movement for Black Lives, and many more. You can save 30% on your order by using the code HISTORY at guiltygoods.us. Again, that's history at guiltygoods.us for 30% off, and you can feel good about your purchase knowing you're supporting a meaningful cause. Sneakers are all about presentation, and if you're like me, displaying your kicks at home or in the office is just as important as when they're on your feet. Sneaker Throne makes sneaker display cases featuring customizable LED lights, drop-side cases to showcase the entire side of the shoe, not just the heel or the toe, the whole shoe. They've also got display cases for trading card collectors and hat collectors. To me, it's the perfect way to display your collection. You can save at least 10% on your Sneaker Throne order by using the code HISTORY at sneakerthrone.com. That's history at sneakerthrone.com. If you're a Patreon supporter or a member of our Discord community, you already know about Kicks with V hot sauce and his small batch, locally sourced hot sauce. V has been one of the biggest supporters of sneaker history and the podcast since the early days. He's currently the defending champion in our community trivia nights competition. Kicks with V hot sauce has been a huge hit with the community. You can save 10% on your order by using the code SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. That's SneakerHistory10 at kickswithvhots.com. Now, you're probably here because you like sneakers, and if you join the Discord, you know our community is about so much more than that. Whether it's the marathon-like community calls, trivia night debates, the in-person meetups, or just sharing our favorite experiences, we found that although we have such different backgrounds, we all have some unexpected shared passions. Not only does the entire community look out for each other when it comes to releases, we're like a support group for life in general. You can join the Discord community for free by heading to the show notes of this episode. After you're done listening to this episode, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Now let's get into today's episode.
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move! James with no regard for human life. Final seconds. Bryant for the win.
Iverson against Gill. The crowd on its feet. Allen for the win.
Welcome to the Sneaker History Podcast.
What up? What up? Welcome back to the Sneaker History Podcast. My name's Nick Engvall, and I'm with my guy.
Oh man,
Mike
I'm
Guillory
doing
today.
great.
What's going on, man? How you
Just
doing?
another good day to talk some sneakers.
Yeah, lots of cool news to talk about. Nike kind of owning the conversation this week with some of the stuff that they're dropping. So looking forward to talking about that. Before we get into it, wanted to give a shout out to Kicking It With for the review on iTunes. It says, awesome podcast. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Love the conversation and the topics. It's always very insightful to hear different takes on kicks. Only criticism is the audio. Sometimes audio sounds like someone is losing reception and a person cuts in and out on the conversation. Regardless of that, I enjoy listening. Keep up the good work. So thank you, Kicking It With. We did switch up the audio, so hopefully everybody noticed the last couple of episodes have been on a different platform. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from it, so shout out to our Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/sneakerhistory for basically supporting us and helping us get this new platform. So hopefully that solves the issues that you're talking about there, Kicking It With, and everybody else that's given us that feedback recently too. We're listening and we're trying to make it better for you. Being everybody's in a different spot, we want to bring the different perspectives, but sometimes that comes with a little bit of a challenge doing this over the web. So, but regardless, we appreciate you all listening. We appreciate you taking the time to leave us the feedback, and so. Mike, what are you rocking?
Man.
What are you copping this episode?
My cop list probably could take 20 minutes, but we'll cut it down. But today I was rocking my Benji Nike SBs. They finally came in the mail a couple days ago, so got to break them out today. And dude, these things are super dope, super underrated. I know they don't have a typical swoosh on the side, but all the embossed swooshes all over the shoe just give it a whole different character. So it's really cool. I think people should give this one a second look if they haven't. And what I'm trying to cop is everything right now. But really top, I guess top two on my radar would be the LeBron 7 All Star game, and then still the Dunk Low Plums. Man, I really want to get a pair of those, both of them actually. What about you, man? What you been rocking?
So I kind of been back on my Reebok Iverson kick the last few days. Rocked the Answer Fives the last 2 days, and today I rocked some Question
Ooh,
Lows, the kind of just like the all black pair. It's a I think it's like a 2001 release or something. It's kind of like got a like black and silver, silver logos, but basically just an all
yeah.
black pair, um, like semi translucent outsole. Um, I don't know, man. I'm like a crazy Reebok Question collector, and I haven't been. I feel I haven't been repping the questions or the Iverson stuff as much as I should, because that's like hands down like one of the most important signature lines to me, and like one of my favorite athletes, favorite human beings in general. But I think I'm back on it. I might try to do some you know share some of the collection and just run through some of the questions that I have. I might wait till after All Star to get through some more, just because um, there's obviously a lot of stuff going and coming for All Star. But on my radar, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. There's like a million things happening right now. It's hard to even keep track of everything that you really want to get your hands
Yep.
on. But the one that stood out that I saw earlier today, which I will likely never get my hands on, but it was a Hiroshi Fujiwara Fragment Air Jordan 34,
Oh yeah.
which I mean, it's just I love the 34. It's absolutely one of my favorite like Jordan models at this point. But to see those colors on it and the little like subtle fragment, lightning bolt logo, like damn, I would love to get a pair of those. But um, yeah, that's I think unfortunately just wishful thinking.
Man, I don't. I wish they would come out. I think he just likes to troll us sometimes. He's like, "Hey guys, look what I got." Okay, they're never coming out. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where once you have access to the people that can make it happen, and once you have that kind of access at Nike, you might as well sample up everything that you possibly want,
Oh yeah.
because you never know if it just hits right and you're just like ready when you see it come, show up with that first sample. It's just a matter of getting people excited and getting the shoe produced. So it's worth trying. And I love that he's so consistent with the Nike stuff, like keeping the same kind of like black and white and royal
Yeah.
color up. Like I think I'm pretty sure his birthday is actually tomorrow, so I'll shoot the
Oh.
link in the description for this episode. But we kind of ran through maybe last year some of his best, and it's hard for
Hmm.
me to not like every time I see those colors on a Jordan, I just think of that Jordan 3 sample that he wore, and it's like, damn, so crazy. So, um, but yeah, so that's what I'm rocking. That's what I'm looking at or wishfully copping this week. But let's get into this innovation stuff that Nike's throwing our way. I'm gonna let you start it off, because you had the kind of list to get us going. So
Yeah. So I want to say this was unveiled during the Nike's presentation. Uh, they had New York for New York Fashion Week, which is going on now, but they unveiled uh, a new model, which is going to be looks like it's going to have a few different silhouettes in the model, four to be exact, and it's called the Nike Space Hippie Collection. And simple enough, the silhouettes are just the O1, O2, O3, and O4. But the really cool thing is that they're inspired by, they say, life on Mars, where materials are scarce and there's no resupply mission coming your way. So what basically happened, they took all these scraps from different shoes and different apparel that these weren't using in the company, and they basically just built shoes from it. So what's really cool is that you're not going to just be given the same, again, not the same silhouette. You're going to have four different, and they're going to vary between having laces, being laceless, and even they're going to incorporate fly ease uh, into the mix. That way, everyone can join in on this particular innovation. Now, cool thing is that the fly net yarn that they use for the sneaker is actually going to be 85%. They call R poly, which is going to be made from recycled plastic, water bottles, t-shirts, and then yarn scrap. So basically, anything they have floating around the factory floor, they're just snatching up and building shoes up from it. And then the cushioning is called crater foam, and what it does, it uses 15% of Nike's like grounded up rubber combined with 100% recycled foam material. So everything in the shoe has been basically recycled to a degree, and it's really cool. Now there's no price points I didn't see for it yet. I would assume we may hit a pretty it might be a pretty good premium on them, because again, once you do something new like this, you have to figure out the most not only sustainable way to do it, but the most cost effective way to do it. So I feel like this go around. You may be looking at 200 plus for these, but they're really cool. Like I feel like you're not gonna get the same. No one's gonna have the same shoe in a sense of the way the materials look and the patterns on them. It's just really really different. And I'm happy to see them not only being sustainable but giving us something different. So I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think the sustainability thing is really important to me. Like if you follow me anywhere else, you probably see me talking about it. Like last year, I kind of started committing to ditching things like straws and started carrying metal straws. And this year, my goal is to use as little disposable plastic as possible. So, it's just one of those things where I can't imagine it. It's nothing for me to either carry some straws or, like just buy something in a glass bottle instead of buying the plastic stuff. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to make those changes in my life, and it's tough because we're all creatures of habit, and we have our go-to spots, and that doesn't always align. And of course, nobody likes paper straws. Like it's like the worst thing ever. So, um, but I think that Nike putting this out there and um, you know at least moving towards it um, is a step in the right direction for them. If you are relatively new to this podcast, I used to be a part of a podcast called Outside the Box with Tiffany Beers, who designed the Nike Mag and Hyperadapt back in a few years back, and Jacques Slade, Cousteau on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And on that podcast, we really dove into those kind of crazy technologies that are kind of shaping, I guess, the future of footwear. Um, and we talked about stuff like, I mean, there's shoes made out of gum, there's shoes made out of pineapple leather, there's shoes made from everything you could possibly imagine, right? So I'm excited to see Nike kind of moving towards this, because I think a lot of companies have tried in different ways. And the footwear business is very it's very like wasteful, and it just is going to take us like having people in these companies saying, hey, we could do a little bit better on this. And it's not going to hurt anybody, right? Like I actually think these like styles are really dope. They're actually pretty kind of like spot on for the the trends that we're seeing anyway. So it's like, why not, right? um, but I'll be curious to see what the price point is on these, because a lot of times the early stuff, especially from the bigger brands, ends up coming out like crazy high price, and you deter the people that really want to live that kind of like more minimal lifestyle or minimalist lifestyle. So that'll be kind of fascinating. I think that the variations, obviously having stuff for men, women, flies concept, laceless, they've got a good mix, and I hope this is like, you know, the springboard to saying, hey, we can do this 100%. You know, we can go from that 15% recycled rubber in the outsole midsole and go full on, you know, because there's plenty of companies that are already doing it. And you know, I think Nike is like always the cool kid on the block that kind of sets the trends. So if they're able to do this and able to push it a little bit further, then, you know, maybe this is like that springboard that sends it, you know, kind of into the next level of sustainability for them. And I don't think that's a bad thing for anybody. So
Yeah, dude, I agree. I mean, everyone's been becoming more conscious about the sustainability, and that's a good thing. If it's going to be a competition between all the brands, who's going to be more sustainable first, that just means that the product's going to be better because everyone's going to be vying for our attention as consumers. So I think it's great that everyone's starting to get on that same plane of thought. And I mean, we have Adidas has been doing it with Parley. Everyone has their mission to become, you know, sustainable by whatever year may be. So now I'm just waiting to see the kind of the fruits of their labor and see, you know, not necessarily which one's better, but you know who's making like strides quicker and how their innovations differ
most
from each other.
definitely. And I think too, like, you know, the thing about, you know, it sounds like I'm picking on Nike, and I don't mean it to come across that way, but Nike is really good at you know, kind of taking other people's ideas or, you know, tech approaches to technology and like throwing their own, you know, steroids on it and making it cool, and doing it in a much like more like
Yeah.
everyone's about this kind of a way. And I really hope that that's what this is like. To me, you know, if I'm looking at this from, you know, just like purely the sustainability aspect, it's not like groundbreaking, right? It's like, you know, 15% here, 85% here. Like, okay, cool. Your steps in the right direction, right? You know, Nike's done this a number of times over the years, but this seems to be the first where they're like, okay, we're really, you know, you got a little collection, you've got a lot more, you know, kind of potential for this to become something more long term rather than just like a quick hit that hits a trend and, you know, shows that they're doing things consciously. So I'm really hoping that's kind of what happens with this, is that
Yeah.
it it is, you know, stuff where they've, you know, started to work towards these technologies or seen them around the neighborhood up there in Portland and been like, okay, cool, we can do this. If these outdoor companies are doing this, then we can do this and we can take it, you know, kind of to the next level. And if they are able to do that, it's better for everyone, right? So um, I really like to see this success, and I think
Hmm.
too, like it pushes other companies to um, not necessarily follow suit, but, you know, the more people are talking about this, the better it is for everyone. So, you know, just Nike being the kind of thought leader and the pioneer in the footwear business, and you know, the kind of like top dog in the footwear business, and in almost all accounts, right, is really like a great thing for them to like put out so much info on this and have such a deep story and, you know, kind of have a lot of energy around it to launch it this way, because, you know, they don't necessarily do it that way normally for these kind of, you know, it's not like a mainstream sneaker release, right? So it's cool that they're putting this kind of energy behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because typically you only see this kind of energy beside next to something that's either a big collection coming out, that's I mean probably something we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, or you know Jordan collaboration or whatever it may be. I'm glad to see this is getting as much play as you know a Travis Scott collaboration or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you said, launching Fashion Week in New York is obviously a pretty big deal, and I think, I guess related, since I'm staring at it right now, it's worth
Mhm.
mentioning. I don't know that we were planning on it, but um, the Nike Rubber Dunk Off-White Virgil Abloh collab. It's like a black with like some bright green accents on it, and essentially is like looks like a dunk, but they threw in like a kind of, I mean, it's Virgil to a T, right? It's like taking old skate shoe elements and throwing them on a Nike Dunk silhouette and turn it into kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm kind of curious to see how people will respond to this. It is definitely not. It's like it's off white, so it's gonna sell out. But I feel like it's it's like stepping into that like ASAP Rocky, Under Armour shoe where it's like you're almost ripping off too much of skate culture. I mean, skate culture drives a ton of this stuff anyway, and I think it always kind of has. Where it's like it's either basketball or skateboarding, right? One of those two things drives most of the thought in this world. Um, but I don't know, man. What do you think of this one?
Those have never been. Uh, those have never really been my cup of tea. Like I looked at the style of shoe, I didn't realize it was a dunk. Cause I didn't when I first saw pictures, just a picture on Instagram, and it wasn't a didn't say dunk. It just showed just a picture of like the black and green. I thought it was just one of his off white shoes. It looks like one of his quote unquote high fashion shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to really dig into like the details to see it's a dunk. So I mean, I have the same sentiment as you. I think it's going to sell out because of what it is and who it is. Personally, I don't I don't like it that much.
All right, all right. Yeah, I'm kind of. I could go either way on it. I'm not like a huge Off-White Virgil fan. I feel like he's riding the wave, and it's great. Like it's bringing energy to the business, but none of the designs are like wow factor to me. Um, and I would say the same thing about this one. I think that it's it's got a lot of unique things. It clearly the upper doesn't look like a dunk, but like midsole outsole is obviously a dunk, and put a
Mhm.
visible air unit in it, and I could see this becoming like a trendy thing, and doing new colorways, and or maybe even doing old colorways on this new style of the dunk, and but I think also being that like that the upper is covered in a bunch of different like rubber elements, rubber swoosh, that kind of stuff, and obviously called the rubber dunk. It's kind of funny that this comes out the same time as the sustainability collection,
You took the words right
where
out
it's
of my
like
mouth.
okay, cool, like you're doing things in both directions, but like, do you really care about any of the stuff you're doing, or is it just like, oh, we're just gonna hit every trend and put it in a in a different in front of a different group of people? So um,
Yeah, like we'll see what happens. Which one sticks to
yeah,
the wall?
exactly. Um, but I don't know. I would love to know what everybody thinks about this one, and honestly, like the sustainability thing. I wonder, like, if you listen to this podcast, leave us a comment. Do you even think about sustainability when you're buying footwear? Like that to me is like, I don't know. I feel like to some to certain people, it's always a thought, and um, I'm trying to be that way personally, but it doesn't always work that way, and I think I think it's okay to step into those kind of worlds and be like, hey, maybe it's one day a week I'm going to try to think about, hey, what is this shoe really made of? What's going on with it? Was it made you know by people that are actually paid a living wage? Was it made out of recycled materials, or all the different variables that you can think about? But I think it's just cool that we're trying to think about those things, and I'd love to know, like, if anybody's out there listening has suggestions on any kind of like crazy sustainable shoes that you've seen. Like I said, there's shoes made out of gum and pineapple leather, and um, I'm also equally as interested on the other side of it, and this is part of me being friends with Tiffany Beers, because her thing was not necessarily about making a shoe out of recycled materials, but what happens to that shoe after the shoe is worn, because that's the one thing that we don't talk about, right? And it's like, okay, you made this shoe out of you know, X amount percentage of recycled materials. But what could potentially happen is like, looking at like Virgil's off-white shoe. Okay, certain pieces of that could be recycled again, but some of it can't be recycled again because it has to be separated from those other
Yeah.
materials. So it's just an interesting thing to kind of think about, and I'd love to know what everybody listening is has what's your thoughts on this kind of whole trend or whatever you want to call it is. So, um, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
Dude, I don't know. So I remember actually listening to that episode. It's funny. I very like vividly remember listening to the episode with you guys. Some time back, and when you said that, what Tiffany was mentioning, it brought another thought to me. Is I remember her saying that things can only be recycled so many times before they just can't
Hmm.
be used anymore. So I wonder what's going to be the usage rate of these Nike shoes, or even anybody, just Nike for the sake of argument, because that's the shoe we're talking about with the Space AP. But can they be actually used again after they serve their purpose as a shoe? Or have they been, stretched out, done whatever, they've just been ground and beat so much that they can't be used at anything again. They end up actually being trash. So I wonder what that looks like as
Yeah,
well.
and I think that's like the real questions, right? And I haven't seen anybody asking those tougher questions, with this launch and with the few kind of like short interviews that I've seen. And it's not a knock to people because like you're just trying to find out about the story anyway, so like it's not like top of mind. But I do think that the further down this path
Mm-hmm.
we go, like we should talk about those things, right? And I think my perspective is always like, is this going to be the best for the footwear business, right? Like I want the footwear business to be as successful as possible because like I really I've made incredible friends in this world. I've been able to do just things that I never thought I would be able to do, and worked with like tons of different brands. And to me, like being able to continue to do those things and making sure that the business itself continues to grow in ways that challenge our kind of like status quo and um, kind of push the envelope, in just the way that we think is an important piece of where I feel I fit in this world. So that's definitely one of those
Mm-hmm.
things where I hope that we get to a point that this is always the topic um, for every release. I think we're a long ways off from that, but I think this is a good starting point from it. And um, yeah, man, I mean, it's 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 fascinating to see the kind of the the level of energy around this. And Nike obviously doesn't do that very frequently with collections. You might see like
Mm-hmm.
a Nike news story on their website, but to kind of have this as a part of the whole fashion week and the launch events that were going on for the kind of bigger influencer media people that were invited to New York to see this stuff is it's really cool to see that this is kind of front and center, one of the most important things it seems like. So, but
Yeah. So hey, taking steps in the right direction. I mean, the harder questions are going to come later, but I can say, I applaud them for taking steps in the right direction, because I know I I have no shame in admitting that I don't think about sustainability whenever I'm buying a shoe. I'm like, ooh, I really like this, I want to buy it. So I'm glad that they're putting something like this in the forefront of our sneaker media, where people like me who can actually take a step back, and because this is honestly like, yeah, we do research about shoes that we talk about, which is great. We like to know the history about them, just because that's who we are. We're sneaker nerds. I love it. But I actually sat and like watched a video on this one today. I did some background reading. Like I didn't just read Nike, but I read different takes from other websites because I was truly interested in see how it was done, and I can really appreciate that. So hey, they if this was their mission to get someone like me to take a step back and think about the sustainability, well, hopefully there's more like me who will continue to think like that. So really cool and something I'm going to have to again continue to work on and
Yeah,
to
definitely,
keep that in the
man.
forefront of my mind.
I guess like kind of like hopping over to the other side of the world for a minute. Um, the Nike designs for like the skate teams in the Olympics in Tokyo 2020 are pretty awesome. Like, I mean, I love that it's like a very, it's like very skate. It's very like out there, but also it's like super like traditional in a lot of ways. Um, just in the sense of like you've got like the button ups and the polos and that kind of stuff. But Nike basically has done like the kits or uniforms for I think what was it, France, Brazil, um, and they partnered with the artist Para, who's obviously pretty well known in the sneaker world, done plenty of collabs, and I just think this is super dope. Like I personally was a little hesitant to hear that skateboarding was going to be in the Olympics. It's almost like going back to the days when Nike stepped into skateboarding in the first place, and I was super against it because I just felt like you bring such crazy corporate energy into a sport that's built on rebelliousness. I just didn't see the vision, and eventually they started hiring people that I looked up to in the skate world. So this is kind of cool to see this next evolution of skateboarding as a sport. And I think like Nike SB sponsored Rob Dyrdek's Street League skateboarding stuff. Obviously they've had a crazy team of skaters since the early 2000s,
Yeah.
but this is really dope to see them kind of throw like the like they got the basketball jerseys, they've got like the polo button ups, they've got like the kind of like jumpsuit for the women. Um, it's still, even though it's like super artistic, super Olympic, it's very skateboarding to me, and so I'm really like loving these designs.
Yep. I found every one of my summer fits right here. Uh, I will rock every country. Just this. This is actually the first time I've looked at them. I overlooked it when I was looking at some other stores today. And man, these are all so legit. Like the whole thing. And I've always loved skateboarding too. And I when I found out that Olympics were going to be in the I'm sorry, the skateboard was going to be in the Olympics for 2020. I I think I pay even more attention than I typically do, and I typically watch pretty much every competition is televised. But I really watched it this year because Street League was part of the Olympic qualifier, along with the X Games, and I want to say a couple of stops of the Do Tour were part of the Olympic qualifiers. And uh, you got guys like Houston, Yuta Origami. Um, this is going to be super awesome to see these top skaters get into a not just a niche competition, but they're going to be on the world stage, and they're going to be probably no hands down the coolest uniforms that any sport's seen.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it's so dope. I mean, it's it's so hard to explain because it's just like I don't know. You look at like the Olympics and it's almost like old school tennis, right? It's like it feels so
Mm-hmm.
stuck in an era, and I think that has a lot to do with why people haven't been watching as much in recent years. So um, this is very I'm sure some people will be offended by it because it's not super traditional, but like everything is done inspired by the art is inspired by different elements from the countries, right? So it's U.S., Brazil, and France, and you've got like like the Brazilian flag colors, but like in a para twisted way, and in like like typical like basketball jersey or soccer football jersey type, like it's and it's like this is skateboarding, right? Like taking all these pieces and like spinning it in your own way, and it's just always about the individuality of it, because you don't
Yep.
skate as a team typically, right? Like yeah, you go skate with your friends, but like you're out there trying to best your own self all the time. So um, yeah, I'm really into this stuff. Hopefully I can get my hands on some of it if they do end up releasing like some kind of
Oh, they
consumer
have to give us
level
like at least the
product.
basketball
So
jerseys, something like this. Well,
yeah,
remember
hopefully so.
2000. Guess it would be 2012 Olympics. Um, that's when we first got the introduction to the Flynet. That's when Nike really pushed hard with getting Olympic product out to us. It was awesome. Yeah, I hope this is the same push because they hadn't done it since. Because just like you said, people kind of tuned out of the Olympics because they were just like, same old, same old. But man, like I love when this and World Cup when it comes around. I love the apparel. I always just kind of wait to see what's going to be released, and just we already know that because Para did the jerseys, there's going to be a dunk and another SB to come along with it. I'm just patiently waiting.
So yeah, I mean, so I guess we should touch on that since we are a sneaker podcast. They do have like the Bruin React, which essentially is like suede upper, React foam sole, kind of with like a traditional like herringbone outsole, and I think you know it's interesting to see them kind of bringing React into skate shoes, right? Like the Bruins kind of always been the Bruin, the Blazer, those like old school basketball silhouettes always tend to be reworked into skate, silhouettes anyway. But React, I don't think there has been a skate shoe yet. You might be able to
No,
prove me wrong on
there
that.
hasn't been.
Because the last shoe I think I can think of that I felt should have had it was Nigel's, and I don't remember that it did. So I thought it was just a Zoom unit, but yeah, I mean, like it really does open up a lot of possibilities for them to do some cool stuff. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes from
Yeah,
this.
man. So excited. I get I don't know why. It's just I love sportwear items, but not necessarily in the sense of like leisure sportwear. Like I will wear like basketball jerseys, all that good stuff just on a daily basis. And I love just seeing the new uniforms and stuff they're gonna come out with. So it would be super cool if Parma did the U.S. men's national basketball team as well. But I don't think we'll get that.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I wouldn't put it past them, but we'll keep an eye out. So I guess like on the same note, we'll be keeping an eye out for the Zoom Vaporfly Next Percent, right? Because it's not going to be banned for the Olympics like originally kind of was reported that it was a possibility. They were looking into it, and the other, or like I guess just in the last couple days, Nike essentially came out and unveiled a handful of new, um, not all obviously the same Vaporfly Next Percent, but like a handful of new Zoom X, shoes with like the carbon plate that was the kind of, I guess, the talking point of the possibility of a banned shoe. Um, I think they look amazing. I don't know. I'm not like, to be honest, like the black and lime green reminds me too much of StockX, so it's that part I don't like. But um, the shoes themselves look great. So um, I don't know. I'm other than I know the price point of any of that, like high end stuff on the running side is $250, $300. So that'll be tough. But um, I don't know. What do you think about this whole Nike I think they're calling it the Zoom Nike Zoom collection or something
Yeah,
like that.
well, not everything's a next because there's a couple. The next percent, I think it had to do with that plate. So anything with the plate, I could be wrong, but just looking at the different models and reading about them, I think that's the next percent is the plate, uh, or the incorporation of it, I should say. But man, just like talking about the Olympic gear, I'm looking at these sneakers. I'm kind of getting the same feeling of seeing the U.S. men's basketball team taking the podium in the Volt Flyknit trainer.
Yeah,
As soon as I saw that, man, I loved it immediately, and that's what I feel with these. I mean, they all have that kind of altitude colorway, like the black and that real bright green. But oh man, it's super cool. I mean, you're right. Those running shoes that's going to utilize a carbon fiber plate, and they increase the Zoom X foam in it. Um, and then they're going ahead and put two Zoom AirPods in a 4 foot. That's just sick. And they have a training shoe that's going to be releasing for $200, which is kind of makes sense. Sets the baseline. But the Zoom BB NXT with the React foam and then the two Zoom units in the forefront on the 4 foot. I'm buying that basketball shoe. I don't care what color it is. I am buying that basketball shoe. That's literally everything I've been looking for in a basketball shoe. And 180, I paid 180 for a pair of Jordan retros that hurt. So I am buying these. They come out July 1st in that black and green colorway.
yeah. I mean, and I think just the silhouette too. Like, you know, obviously the double stack Zoom, the React, like the shoe is gonna feel phenomenal as long as there's no weird things going on in the liner, where you get that weird rubbing. Like,
Yeah.
it's an easy home run of a shoe. But also just in like the style, it's like the perfect like blend of what's going on at Nike right now. Like I look at the shoe, I first saw it and I was like, oh, that could be like a new version of the Kyrie, or maybe a new version of the PG. It's kind of got a little bit of the Durant look to it. Like it's all of it kind of thrown into one, a little bit more streamlined silhouette. And you know, to me, that's like a beautiful way to put something out, especially that is so kind of, uh, you know, I guess like in game changing. I hate using that term because I feel like it's not really. It's like, okay, cool, they move some stuff around, but like it really does kind of feel like this shoe is
Yeah.
like the progression of a few years worth of like trying different things, and like, okay, cool, we're finally here. So um yeah, man, that's gonna be a good one.
Well, it's supposed to be the successor to the Hyperdunk because I mean clearly we all saw how the Alpha Dunk did not really hit among the masses like the Hyperdunk did. So I'm reading more about it. This is supposed to be the successor of the Hyperdunk in that um, I don't want to call it general because the Hyperdunk was not a general basketball shoe. It was probably one of the best basketball shoes ever. But I guess the flagship Nike model I think is supposed to take that mantle up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it'll be interesting. Hopefully we see a lot of this in the Olympics. Hopefully, I think like the Viper Fly, which is like the more track spike looking
Hmm.
shoe, and the Zoom Victory, which is the other track spike looking shoe. I think those, eh, I'm sure we'll see them, and we'll see them in some crazy colors for the Olympics. It kind of, going like on a little bit of a nostalgic trip. It like makes me think of like the all gold, the all gold Nikes that I can't remember the model off the top of my head.
Michael
The Michael
Johnson.
Johnson wore, where it's like, I mean, it
Yeah.
just stood out so much, right? So, um,
Hmm.
it's one of those, yeah, man. It's just one of those like crazy, crazy things that Nike is just so good at putting all of these elements together for a story, right? So, um,
Yeah. Well, there's a next percent Air Zoom Mercurial soccer boot coming out, which I'm really interested to see how they're going to do that with the soccer cleat. That's going to be freaking awesome. Mercurials are, even if you don't play soccer, you have to appreciate the design of the Mercurial.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just one of those like kind of iconic sneakers, right? So, um, oh yeah, yeah, I forgot. Like the Michael Johnson shoe was the JST. It was like the black, the original, like the released pair, not the spikes, but the released pair that was more like the just a traditional running shoe was it was like black with the gold stripes, right? And then they did the spiked version for track in all gold for him for the Olympics. That's right, the JST. Man, that shoe was crazy too because it was super super like low profile. It was. I mean, this is like 1998, right? So you can kind of imagine it's I would say it was like a Talaria, but slimmed down and kind of more of a one piece upper, um, and like it's almost just like we're talking about, right? It was so kind of advanced for its time and ahead of its time that
Oh yeah,
I could just see
for its
this
time,
whole
yeah.
lineup, with the Alpha Fly and these others being that moment for a lot of different athletes at the Olympics. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think I realized I'm way too excited for these shoes. Hope some of you guys out there are excited as I am because I cannot wait for the summertime when they start pumping these bad boys out and just seeing them on TV. Because I'm a big fan of those big sport events like again the Olympics, World Cup. I'm a big tennis fan, so I watch all of the majors. So those big events like that, I'm in front of the TV for days.
Yeah, man, I will definitely be tuning in for as much of it as I can. I think that the Olympics um, are just an underrated event. We've forgotten how important they are, and um, I don't know that he listens to the
Mm-hmm.
podcast, but my homie James, his little sister Grace, will more than likely be competing. I can't. I'm pretty sure, but Grace Stark. If you watch the Olympics and you see Grace, throw out some positive vibes for her because like it would be amazing to have somebody within
Nice.
arm's reach that is competing on that high of a level. So she runs
What
like I think
sport?
the 100-meter hurdle and the 200. Yeah, yeah. But
Oh dang. Okay.
yeah,
Dang.
it's a crazy world, man. But it's good to see all these kind of things coming. I know this is like obviously a really Nike heavy episode, but hey, man, you gotta give props to them when they do this kind of stuff, and they're just like, hey. New York Fashion Week? What? You forgot about fashion because we're gonna just put all this crazy stuff out here, and it's gonna be almost like Nike Fashion Week. So
It's a true statement. Literally, I saw nothing else from anything from Fashion Week. I saw the Nike deal. I was like, all right, cool. Nike won Fashion Week. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
yeah. So before we get out of here, I want to just shout out to the guys at Wear Testers. We're going to end up talking to them soon about some stuff going on over All Star Weekend. But myself and Robbie won't be able to make it out to Chicago, but Mike will be out there. So if you're in Chicago for All Star Weekend, holler at Mike. Mike, let them know how they can
Yeah,
find
man.
you.
Yeah, you guys always know to find me on Sneaker History, but you always hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at MadWatcher789, and also go check out the new videos we're doing. My channel, Mike Guillory, doing some different sneaker reviews and thoughts. So we're gonna get Robbie and Nick on these here soon enough, so you can see their faces as well.
Yep, coming soon. Yeah, man, and like you can always find me at Nick Ingval on all platforms. And most importantly, just make sure you're following Sneaker History. Turn on your notifications. We've been posting some really dope throwback videos on our Instagram. Follow us there. You probably enjoy some of the videos we posted to our IGTV recently. So,
Yeah.
as always, we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
See you.
Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, I wanted to ask a couple favors of you. If you're interested in more content from the Sneaker History crew, become a member of our Patreon page where we post daily content, drop exclusive episodes, and host monthly giveaways. We'll even help you hunt for your grails. Check us out at patreon.com/sneakerhistory. Also, make sure you sign up for our email newsletter at sneakerhistory.com/email. We send out weekly updates on the footwear business and what we're working on here at Sneaker History. Last but not least, take a second to tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how much it means to someone, and it might even plant the seeds for something even bigger. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time. Peace. Hey everyone, this is Nick again. Before you take off, do us a solid and head over to Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. Give us a rating on Spotify and Amazon Music, and make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel because we have even more video content coming soon. Speaking of new content, we have an amazing community of sneaker enthusiasts that hang out in our Sneaker History Discord on a daily basis. While sneakers is a connection point that brought us all together, we've all discovered countless shared passions that we have in common with each other. We recently launched a couple of new podcasts directly from our community. One of them is a Formula One podcast. If you're an F1 fan like me, the Exhaust Notes podcast is your weekly fix of Formula One fun. It's hosted by myself, Rohit Malhotra, and Todd Yates. New episodes drop every Tuesday. I've been wearing fitted hats for years and collecting my favorite teams since I was a little leaguer. It has been awesome to see so many new fans getting into fitteds in recent years. Crown and Stitch is our new talk show about fitted hats with Dexter, Keith, and myself, where we talk about fitted hats, snapbacks, throw in some obscure hats because we all kind of like some funky stuff once in a while, don't we? Copping, collecting, and so much more. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Hit the links in the show notes for this episode to give our new shows a listen, and be on the lookout for more new podcasts dropping soon. Last but not least, tell someone you like their kicks today. You never know how far a simple compliment can take you, and we all know how good it feels to have someone show their appreciation. Thank you all for the support, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.